All right, Larry, I'm going to come back to Larry for a second here. Larry, tell us how tough it was for you and that team to be denied a bowl bid after winning 8 games.
Yeah, Coach, I'm glad you brought that up because that's I was thinking about that as we were talking about the season. That was devastating, man. To be 8-3 and to beat the teams that we beat and to have to sit home and that's one of the better teams in ECU history, in my opinion. And as a player, you want to keep playing with that group. You want to go on and try to get a bowl championship, which is hard to come by. So that was tough on us all, especially for those seniors that were great leaders and to spend all that time and energy and effort and to be denied, one last chance to go out and and become a bowl, and playing a bowl game. That was very devastating for us. You look at today, these teams, all these bowl opportunities and all these teams go to bowl games, sometimes with losing records. It's kind of, you look back and say it wasn't fair, man.
Well, absolutely. Plus, if you look at the schedule we played that year and, being able to win 8 games with that schedule, I thought was very significant. I was shocked that we didn't get chosen for a bowl. And then 2 years later, we're 6-5 and the same thing happens again.
Yeah.
During the course of that 10-year period that I was there, we actually qualified for 7 bowls and went to 5. That's a real tough deal. I've never heard of anything like that before with anybody else where you got 8 wins and they'll go to a bowl. So
no doubt.
Tough deal. Leonard, can you hear us now?
Can you hear me? I'm back.
We can hear you.
Got you.
Okay, go ahead and continue to tell us a little bit about that 99 deal.
Yes. It took us by storm, truly, as the storm came. Many guys had never been in a hurricane. Of course, I've never been in one. But what it did was really brought out a lot of character that was within us. We knew we were a pretty good football team. But when you have devastation take effect in the lives of the whole city, we all know Greenville is a football community, football town. And so we're seeing all this devastation that had taken place back home. And while we were practicing, mind you now, we only had the clothes that we came down there with. So they were able to give us a little bit of money. You had to go out and buy underwear. You had to go out and buy a few deodorant, toothpaste, little things like that. But nevertheless, everything that we had on, they were just washing it like they would really wash all of our practice gear. So mind you, we're practicing hard, doing what we got to do to get ourselves prepared for Miami. And we're watching the local news and we're hearing about it. Many of the guys' houses, apartments have been destroyed. Cars have been devastated. We get on the bus, we leave South Carolina, and we're on our way. We found out we're going to have the game, and NC State is going to allow us to use their facility to play Miami. When we pulled up the Raleigh, of course, everybody not knowing what to expect, put up the Raleigh, and we saw all of that purple and gold. The fans were out there waiting on us. I mean, it brought tears to all of our eyes because we were like, wow, here is all of our people, our family, our Pirate family. And here we go now getting ready to play. Miami really didn't stand a chance because it was really us against us based on all that we had overcome to put ourselves in that position. We were just fighting against ourselves, and it turned out to be a great game and a great victory. And at the end of it, of course, we all love when we on NC State's territory tore down their goalposts. They didn't like that, though, but it is what it is. What's up, Larry? What's up, Mike?
Hey, man, I got to tell you, Leonard, I was at that game when you guys came off the road and played Miami and at NC State Stadium. I was with the Dolphins, and we had our bye week. So I had all planned out to come to Greenville to watch you guys play Miami in Greenville. Had a weekend off finally. And then, of course, game got moved. But I said, I'm still coming anyways, man. And me and a bunch of the alumni were there. And, guys like the Harts.
Yes.
Mitch and Scott Richards and we were all there, man. And we got down the field with you guys, it was so much fun, man. That was credit to you guys for persevering through that. And I just want to share with that. That was special, man.
You guys pushed us. Seeing you guys on the sideline, it gave us. I mean, you were our. You were the big dogs at East Carolina, so we knew that we were just not in this game for ourselves. We knew you guys were right out there on that field with us.
Right.
Now, mind you, we have not came to Greenville yet. We left
Right.
South Carolina and went directly to Raleigh, so we've not been home. No one
Crazy.
knew. All we were doing was going by what we had heard. At that time, they didn't have cell phones like they do now to take pictures. Facebook was not like it is now. So therefore, we're just basically going by hearsay.
Right.
And as exciting as we were getting on the bus, going back to Greenville, when we got back to Greenville, oh man, our whole emotional, we just took a total different turn because guys lost literally everything. I mean, they didn't have nothing but the clothes that were on their back. But I'm telling you, Greenville and eastern part of North Carolina stepped up, rose up to the occasion, and made sure we had anything that we needed.
Well, Leonard, I also wanted to chime in and tell you that I gave a hotel worker $40 to go out and buy me 2 packs of underwear. And also, remember we trained at Gold's Gym that whole week.
Yes. I remember.
And it was the atmosphere at NC State was, you couldn't even describe it if you weren't there. But I will tell you this: at the beginning of the game, Santana Moss ran by me and looked like he ran about a 4.140. And they had 11 first rounders on that team, I believe.
Yes, they did. They did, Coach.
And so, we weren't playing the Sisters of the Poor that day.
Nah.
That was a great win.
It really was.
So, Leonard, as a pastor looking back, what spiritual qualities do you think that 99 team possessed that helped us to be that successful? And maybe, what can you offer up to a team, the ECU team, for instance, looking to knock off NC State, this week, when our show airs, and what do you have to offer up to them?
That 99 team, if I could put it in one word, perseverance. We persevered through a lot, not just on the field, but off the field. And it's kind of like life. Everyone wakes up every morning. We always have our plan day. I mean, literally, we know what we're going to do at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. But here's the question for all of us. What happens if anything goes to the left of those plans that we have? Do you go back home, get back in the bed? No. One thing I've learned about football, you roll up your sleeves and you get back into the ring of life and you fight again. Listen, sometimes the defense they call the right play and they get you. So you go back to the huddle, you draw up another play, you come back out and you're trying to execute that. And that's what happened throughout that year. I mean, we had our highs and lows, and although our highs were beating those top teams, of course, in the country of that, but still, even though we're practicing, even though we're winning, guys are still trying to readjust to getting new furniture, trying to readjust to getting new home. I lost my car in that. And I only had one car. I didn't have no brothers or sisters. So that car I shared with my mom and my dad. So when I lost that car, my mom and my dad lost their transportation. So everybody was adjusting, and we was persevering, and we were overcoming, and we were just fighting and grinding, which has always been Pirate football anyway. We always find a way to just grind. We don't make excuses. We just do what we have to do. And that same concept, we take on the Christian journey with the Lord, that we just persevere through some things.
Appreciate it. Larry, I've seen pictures of your family. You look like you have just such a great family, and everybody just looks so happy. And, you really look like you're the model husband and father. And tell us a little bit about how Steve Logan was. I just really believe that Coach Logan was a great example to our team in relationship to how to be a good family man someday.
Yeah, no doubt. Being a part of that program and what you coaches did for us, and it's just all walks of life. You learned, how to handle yourself, and the way to see, like you guys with your kids, and the way you guys treated your wives and the way you treated your way you and Coach Logan and Coach Martin, the way you guys treated your families, and then, just a thing about like, making sure that as a young man, you just wasn't in Greenville by yourself. You knew that, that the coach was going to look out for you, taking you to church, having you over for dinner. And so, it's just like the same way my parents are. My parents are the same way. They're strong parents, and that's what I want to be. I want to be a strong father and a good husband. I just want to always be there for my family and my kids, and so it's just, obviously it's not as easy as it sounds. We all know, fatherhood and marriage is a journey. But at the same time, it's something that I take a lot of pride in, and to making sure that each day is special, in the Shannon household.
Absolutely. And, in my coaching experience, of course, hardly ever being home, being a strength coach, you're going about 12 hours a day. You leave the house at 5:30, you get home at 7 at night. You're away a lot of weekends. There was probably a 4-year period where I lived away from my family, simply because Coach Bunning, I thought was, when he got cut loose, I moved my family to the beach, not knowing what was going to happen, and then Butch retained me. But as coaches, particularly at the collegiate level, was very tough, and I'm still trying to make it up to my family, and that's one of the reasons now I just feel blessed to have some time now to spend with my wife, and we're planning on going about 4 vacations a year, and I'm just so blessed to be involved in this Armored Life organization, and things just God just keeps putting things in front of me, and I just feel extremely blessed right now. And so
Coach,
I want to go ahead.
I was going to say, like, the thing about coaching, and when you pour your life into other young men away from your household, sometimes you don't realize the toll that it takes from your family, and
Right.
That's why, like when my wife, and also probably like Michelle, she's allowed you to be who you are as a coach, right? She allows you to go be Coach Connors, and my wife allows me to she never questioned me about the time I spent away, away from home, staying late after practice, going on Saturdays, breaking down film. Sometimes she does have to remind me, though, that I'm not on the practice field when I come home and I'm getting after the kids or whatever. And she has to tell me to stop yelling and stop. I'm not on the practice field no more. But it takes a special woman to be a coach's wife, and so I'm truly blessed, and I know you feel the same way, that you're able to have someone there that allows you to do that.
I mean, I'm just glad they put up with me after a loss, because I hated to lose, man. I mean, when you pour your soul into people that many hours a week, man, you can't stand to lose a game.
No doubt.
And so, yeah, I'm just really thankful she hung in there with me for sure. So Mike Swift is with us today, and Mike is our strength and conditioning coordinator for Armored Life. And Mike played for ECU. I had the privilege of coaching Mike as well. Mike then did an internship with the New York Jets in strength and conditioning, and now he's at Fort Bragg coaching. And Mike was, of course, on the team during the 2016 victory over NC State. And so, Mike, give us a little bit now, maybe a little strength and conditioning concept, and then maybe we can talk a little bit about this the victory over NC State.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the stuff that I'm doing now is, training with intent. And obviously you've talked about that in the brief. And the big thing is, training around and at 80%. So there's a saying that goes 80% of your training needs to be at or above 80%. So I know nowadays a lot of people try to, shy away from, loading the bar or whatever it might be to, preserve for game day or whatever it might be going into season, preseason. But, what you've done and, what I continue to do and how we trained at ECU, it was always about, when you step into the weight room, you get after it. The Russians have been doing it for time and time again. The Russian squat program is everything above 80%, training 3 days a week. And, you don't really see technical breakdowns until you get to around that time or around that percentage, right? You load the bar and you train at that 80%. And that's when you're going to see breakdowns. That's when you're going to see weaknesses, the things that you need to address better as a coach. You're never going to train sprint mechanics jogging, right? You got to train with intensity when you do it. It even goes down to, something you taught me, how you can train the fiber types, right? There's the type 1, type 2, the endurance, the fast twitch. You can switch hybrids just by training with intensity and, actually getting after it once you do it. So, that's something that ECU's always had, especially when you were there, is, our guys were going to be quick. You're never going to get the big time recruits. We're always that blue collar school, but we're going to be quick. We're going to be mean. We're going to be after it. And once you get into that weight room, you step in there, right? You train with that intent to, move the bar as fast as you possibly can, regardless of the weight that's on there. You're going to get the training adaptation that you want. And I've found that, getting consistent at that 80% and above is really what's going to throw the numbers on the board.
Well, the nervous system only understands intensity. So if you want to advance the nervous system, you either have to do something heavy or fast.
Exactly.
There is no in between. If it's in between and you're in a weight room, you're talking about hypertrophy. You're talking about bodybuilding. You're not talking about speed power.
Yeah.
And, that's why we always sprinted first, because we want to be fresh when we sprinted, because we know that sprinting provides more tension to the muscle and connective tissue than anything else that you can do. And actually, if you sprint properly, if you have proper training during the course of a week with absolute speed training, that's actually even going to help you more in the weight room. And so that's something that a lot of people don't understand, but it's something that we did and stayed with, all through the 90s, a long time ago. We never really changed that. And the thing that's interesting to me is you look at all these teams that had machines back then, Michigan, Penn State, and I interviewed at Penn State with Joe Paterno when they had nothing but machines there. And, right now, all those schools have nothing but platforms and racks.
Yep.
So that's where it's going. So,
everything's gone back to the bare basics, right? Well, you would hope that it will eventually. But, there's all these different ways of training and auto regulation and VBT. And VBT, I love training VBT, right? Virtual or velocity-based training is great, but it drives intent.
Right.
And you kind of can get away from what your intent is for that session once you go to reps and reserve and RPE, depending on the athlete. When you're training a big group, it's hard to regulate if that athlete's actually, going to go off that. Obviously, when you train at percentages, some guys aren't going to feel great every single day, right? But ideally, that's what you have in the schedule or in your long-term plan, is that you're going to be able to go back and, we're trying to reach that progressive overload. We're trying to stress that system rather than, going light every single day. I'm not trying to max out every single day either, but, you have it planned and set to peak at a certain point.
Well, Mike, one of the highlights of Scotty Montgomery's career was a victory over NC State when they had a pretty solid team that year, especially the defense. What do you remember about that win?
That was my first year on the team. That was my walk-on year. So I remember, just getting into the weight room in general and realize like this is what college strength training is. I remember everything going up into that week. We opened up with Western Carolina. Great win over them. And we went into week 2 with NC State. And I always remember just like the hype around that NC State game. Those in rival schools, because they always look down at ECU as like the little brother, right? But the little brother was always trying to get back at NC State or UNC or wherever it might be, right? Like when they come into Greenville, we go into their house. We're trying to bring everybody with us. And that week of practice, we had a bunch of alumni come out and tell us how important the game was. Obviously, we already knew how important that game was, but it just, the sense of community around Greenville, which both of you guys already hit on, is insane. Greenville's a football community. You don't go anywhere in Greenville once you're a player and people don't know that you're a player. And it just, it amplifies as you build to those games, right? Like everybody's talking about those games. They don't care about anything else but those in-state games. And I remember getting ready for the game. It was we had a flyover. We were like the ESPN game. Just getting ready, like I could hear the echo in the weight room, and I'm getting chills just thinking about it now, right? Like it's those things that you just remember and you think about, and like that sense of just like being around the team, being around your position group, and it's just, it's a different feeling. Those guys already have been through it, a few times playing UNC or NC State, and they remembered those wins. Like Mags was one of our GAs with B. Will, and they had, great wins against NC State in our stadium. And, just running out of the tunnel, being there and just seeing it. And, I still to this day never heard a louder stadium than when we played NC State in 2016. I couldn't hear anything on the sideline when I got there to try, like, we were trying to, like, communicate anything. I just couldn't hear it. And, but we came out, we played a great game. We had a solid game plan. It was everything in that week fell in line perfectly. And, after that, like, obviously, I still hear NC State fans, love to talk about how we tore down their goalposts and all this other stuff. And it's just every single time, man, it's I'm going to put my money on ECU. But I just remember everybody just engaged the entire time. We were locked in the entire time, just ready to make a play, ready to make a difference. Anything that you could possibly do, whether it be supporting somebody that was just in, seeing if you could do anything to help them out, whatever it was, we were trying to make sure that we walked away with that win.
Gotcha. Well, when I got to ECU in 1991, they said, "Hey, we hate NC State." I'm like, okay. So, I got to experience 5 wins over NC State there, and then some more, at Carolina. And so, I ended up with 9 wins over NC State that I will always treasure because I truly hated NC State.
Yep.
And then, and then in 1997, we went up there and lost, and I was so mad I drove all the way to Florida after the game, and don't even know why I drove to Florida, but it was just drove me nuts. But I did not want to lose to NC State.
Yeah.
So guys, we're kind of running out of time here, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I just enjoy so much talking to you guys, and just reliving those moments. Of course, next week we're going to probably do a lot with ECU as well on the show, and then we'll kind of move into some general information, some other things as well. I got some good ideas as far as bringing some people on, but Leonard, I just would like to ask you to just leave us with something. Leave us with a scriptural thought today, something that we can marinate on, and because that's a big part of absolute empowerment. We want to touch people out there with God's word.
It's amazing. I was sitting here listening to Mike. In my day and Larry's day, it was hard to get a game with NC State and Carolina because remind you now, we were always looked at as the stepchild.
Yep.
So they didn't want to lose to us. And I find it amazing nowadays that they can get a game with State or Carolina like every other year where we couldn't get any of that. at all, because they didn't want that, because they knew what they would get though. So one thing I would like to say to all of us, there's a Bible verse that I love dear to my heart. It's always been one of my favorite Bible verses. And it says that I can do all things. Philippians chapter 4, verse 13 says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And little did we know back in those days, and I'm talking about the grind summer days, the 300 days, the 110 days, the 3 days that they now don't even have. Little did we know there was an inner push in all of us. And that inner push was that gift that God placed down on the inside of all of us, not knowing that we were able to do it through Christ. Whether we acknowledged him or not, we found ourselves on the other side, meaning we didn't think we would overcome it, but we did. And looking back at it now, I realize now, and I honestly can say that I literally did it through God. God allowed me the endurance. He allowed me the perseverance. He allowed me all of that to overcome it, to sit back today and share. So to all former pirates, as well as all current pirates, as well as those future pirates, Philippians chapter 4, verse 13 says, I can do all things. That key word, all things, through Christ who strengthens me. So God bless you.
That's a great word, Leonard. We really appreciate that. So thank all you guys for being on. Really enjoyed it. This is Jeff Connors signing off for Absolute Empowerment and ArmoredLife.org. Remember that the power of Jesus can break every stronghold in your life. If you need a mentor or someone to pray with you, please fill out the form on the homepage of ArmoredLife.org and send it. God bless.